Number 8. LEAH FARLEY. A glamorous young woman named LEAH FARLEY was the ringleader of a gang of criminals who tricked unsuspecting consumers into forking over money for electronics and rental properties online. The group also worked together to convince people to get the cash on LEAH's behalf, claiming that it was part of a plan to help her get benefits for her children. The phony sellers failed to deliver on the promised goods and services, and instead pocketed the money and used it to live high on the hog. Meanwhile, it left the home seekers who had paid deposits on properties that weren't really for rent desperate for housing on short notice. LEAH lived it up to the fullest extent possible, spending her ill-gotten funds on luxurious trips and outings and designer duds, until the authorities caught on to her scam in 2015. A jury later convicted her of conning her victims out of $21,577. Just days before the judge scheduled LEAH to be sentenced, she went on the run and spent the next several years hiding out in Turkey. During her absence, a court sentenced her to 44 months behind bars. Police finally captured her in early 2020 when she returned to the UK on her own accord. They took her into custody at Birmingham Airport and put her in jail to serve out her sentence. Number 7. Jessica Ann Smith. In late 2019, a 31-year-old Pennsylvania resident named Jessica Ann Smith found herself at the center of a shameful scandal that even her husband couldn't keep quiet about. She had set up many fundraising pages online in her maiden name, Jessica Cornell, claiming that she was suffering from colon cancer. She received more than $10,000 in donations for her treatment and other costs. Jessica's GoFundMe page stated that she is facing tremendous medical bills, travel costs, paying for the care of her children, and missed work. She also had a Facebook fundraising campaign that said she was financially suffering from unpaid time off work and other expenses. But Jessica didn't have cancer, and it was her husband, Robert Smith, and another acquaintance who brought her down for the scam. He even voluntarily handed over the couple's bank statements, which showed a pattern of continuous electronic transfers from PayPal, and some forged medical documents that he said she filled out and she signed. Robert also claimed that he had overheard Jessica on the phone with her employer, pretending to be a nurse. Speaking in the third person, she said that Jessica was very ill from a medical condition and cancer treatments, and that she needed days off. Detectives later learned that she was on paid leave for her alleged sickness and because her father had supposedly died. An investigation found that her father was very much alive. Jessica even tried to con the police and made many complaints about people bullying her online and accusing her of faking her cancer. She presented a fake medical bill for $80,000 and claimed the doctors surgically removed 16 inches of her colon. GoFundMe refunded all the campaign's donors in full. Meanwhile, Jessica pleaded guilty to forgery and theft by deception. Courts ordered her to repay the entire amount of the donation she received and sentenced her to 3 years of probation. Was that really enough time? Number 6. Laura Oglesby. Many parents live vicariously through their kids by pushing them to do the things they never had the chance to do. A woman named Laura Oglesby took it a step further by trying to become her child. Oglesby was in her 40s when she stole her daughter's identity in 2016 and started living like she was in her 20s. She fraudulently got a social security card and a driver's license in the 22-year-old's name, enrolled in classes at college in Missouri, and paid for education with tens of thousands of dollars of financial aid and loans taken out in her daughter's name. Oglesby pulled off the scam for 2 years while working at a campus library and dating much younger men who were unaware of her age. Local authorities finally caught on to the ruse in 2018 after receiving a tip from police in Arkansas about the identity theft. They pulled Oglesby over for what seemed at first like a routine traffic stop and presented her with proof that she was lying about who she was. She claimed she pretended to be her daughter because she was fleeing from domestic violence, but authorities never verified this claim. Mountain View Police Detective Stetson Schwein told local station KY3 that Oglesby had completely adopted a younger lifestyle, including her clothing, makeup, and personality. She pleaded guilty to 1 count of intentionally furnishing false information to the Social Security Administration, and courts ordered her to pay restitution to the university that she scammed and to her daughter, whose credit she ruined by her selfish actions. 5. Fraudulent feel-good fundraiser. In late 2017, a new GoFundMe campaign sought donations for a homeless 35-year-old man named Johnny Bobbitt Jr. The page claimed Bobbitt handed over the only money he had to his name to a woman, Kate McClure, who had run out of gas along a highway outside Philadelphia. Kate and her boyfriend, Mark D'Amico, were behind the crowdfunding campaign. They claimed they created it to help Bobbitt, a homeless veteran, get on his feet after performing such a selfless deed, and giving his last few precious dollars to Kate for gas. But the whole thing was a lie. The couple knew Bobbitt, and he was legitimately homeless. But they didn't get to know each other after Kate became stranded on a roadside. That never happened. The trio concocted a story to pull people's heartstrings and the growing desire for feel-good stories in a dismal world. And it worked beautifully at first. Donations poured in to the tune of more than $400,000 from well-wishers who were moved by Bobbitt's alleged generosity. D'Amico and McClure handled the money and only gave Bobbitt $50,000 of it before they supposedly cut him off from the funds because his drug addiction spiraled out of control. The truth about the fabricated story came out as the couple and Bobbitt came to odds over the money. Within months, every last dime of it was gone, with D'Amico and McClure having spent most of it on luxury items and lavish trips. They faced a slew of state and federal charges related to conspiracy and fraud, to which they both pled guilty. Courts ordered the couple to pay restitution, and they are awaiting federal sentencing of up to 20 years behind bars. Court sentenced Bobbitt to 5 years probation in 2019 for his role in the scam. Number 4. Anna Delvey. In 2013, a woman calling herself Anna Delvey appeared on the New York City social scene. Nobody had ever heard of her or knew who she was, but people got to know her quickly, especially those who served her at luxury hotels she lived in and the upscale bars and restaurants she frequented. Like they say, money talks and BS walks. Anna was extremely generous with it, routinely doling out $100 tips to servers, bartenders, and concierges for making small talk with her. Nobody had any reason to believe that she wasn't rich. After all, Anna's designer clothes and other displays of wealth made her seem like a true socialite. She depicted herself as a trust fund baby who was opening her own nightclub. This too was believable, as shown by the frequent dinners and meetings she hosted with CEOs, celebrities, and other powerful people in attendance. But Delvey was no socialite, and she certainly wasn't rich. Known to her family and friends back in Europe as Anna Sorokin, she comes from a modest working-class background. She gained nearly all her money fraudulently by routinely passing bad checks, providing false financial documents to get huge loans, and by pulling other illegal scams. Over time, businesses caught on to Anna's forgeries and deception, making it difficult for her to get the cash she so desperately needed to maintain her false image of privilege and prestige. In the meantime, her friends got tired of her casually asking them to cover bills or put plane tickets or other expenses on their credit cards, only to forget to repay them as promised. After wearing out a welcome at several five-star hotels, she developed a habit of moving in with friends, with the understanding that she'd pay rent. But she always had excuses for not paying. People became even more suspicious when businesses started contacting them in search of Anna because she hadn't paid her bill. Anna's friends attempted to intervene in her out-of-control lifestyle, but their wisdom fell on deaf ears. By then, she was under legal suspicion anyway. Police charged her with grand larceny, and she served 3 years and 3 months of a 4 to 12-year prison sentence. Sadly, it left most of the con artist victims to clean up the financial messes Anna left in her wake, and many are still fighting to recoup at least some of the losses. Number 3. Salvatore Rinaldi. If you ask federal prosecutors, Salvatore Rinaldi has been scamming people out of their hard-earned money for decades, since 1991 to be exact. The 54-year-old West Palm Beach resident now has 3 fraud convictions under his belt and was just sentenced to 3.5 years in prison for his latest scam. From 2011 to 2015, Rinaldi took money from unsuspecting investors under the promise of putting it towards profitable companies and projects. Some of his first victims received impressive interest payments, but that eventually stopped, and Rinaldi pocketed most of the money he collected, around $3 million. Prosecutors had convicted him of fraud twice, and was even part of the witness protection program at one point, but got kicked out for not following the rules. Rinaldi faced up to 5 years for his most recent crimes, but received 3.5 years after suffering 2 serious heart attacks. His lawyer acknowledged that the prosecution has good reason to consider Rinaldi a threat to society, but that he should get some leniency because of his ailing health, which requires him to wear a life vest with a defibrillator because of the high likelihood of another heart attack. The judge listened. Besides doing some time, the courts ordered Rinaldi to repay the $3 million that he swindled out of his investors. Number 2. Emma Charlton. British serial fraudster Emma Charlton had made news headlines many times for swindling unsuspecting men and taking advantage of her friends and relatives. There seems to be no end to her games, and she seems to have no limits in terms of who she's willing to steal from. And it seems like every time they release Emma from prison, it's only a matter of time before she slips back into her old ways. By 2014, she had conned at least 7 men out of thousands of dollars. Emma was just 4 months out of a 3-year prison sentence for her most recent scam, and was still on probation when she convinced a man named Chris Lashford that she was a hairstylist and the daughter of a prestigious judge named Amelia Chadwick. The cunning con artist hired Lashford as a personal bodyguard, promising him a 6-figure salary and access to a company car. She told him that her life was in danger and tasked him with protecting her. But instead of paying Lashford for his services, Emma took money from him. She made off with at least $10,000 and racked up massive debts on credit cards for hotel rooms, an iPad, meals, and other frivolous purchases. Lashford ran out of money just a few days into his new job. He became suspicious when Emma failed to repay him as promised, claiming that her father had frozen her accounts. When she left the room they were sharing, he went into her wallet and found cards in her real name. The sinking reality became even worse when Lashford Googled Emma's name and found articles about her past crimes. She wound up back in jail for 18 months, meaning it was only a matter of time before she zeroed in on her next target and wreaked havoc on that life. Number 1. Adolfo Schoneke. From 2013 to 2016, Adolfo Schoneke and his sister Bianca Gonzalez staged fake home viewings and advertised not-for-sale homes in Los Angeles, where buyers already struggled with a competitive market and high prices. They cheated hundreds of prospective home buyers out of an estimated $6 million, doing business under various fake real estate companies that they had set up. The pair used other people's brokerage licenses to sell homes that weren't for sale to their victims. They sold some properties with no one seeing them. They marked others as short sale opportunities, which is when a homeowner sells the house for less than they owe on the mortgage, usually because of financial duress. In other cases, homeowners took bribes to let the scammers stage fake open houses. Schoneke and Gonzalez accepted multiple offers on each property, while telling each victim that their bid was the only offer the pair had received. They then forged documents to make it look like the seller had agreed to the offer, and collected the victims' payments. There were other co-conspirators, and the group of criminals split the ill-gotten proceeds amongst themselves, while promising the buyers that their funds were sitting safely in an escrow account. When things seemed to take longer than they should, the scammers told their victims they were facing bureaucratic delays. The tactic worked, keeping some people on the hook for years before they got fed up and wanted their money back. Sometimes the fake brokers ghosted their victims. Sometimes they gave a partial refund to appease the victim and hopefully stop them from going to law enforcement. But it wasn't enough to stop some people from complaining, and the feds eventually caught up with Schoneke and Gonzalez. They both pleaded guilty earlier this year to conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and a jury will sentence them later this year. Thanks for watching. Would you rather get conned out of $1,000 or miss out on the opportunity to meet your favorite celebrity? Let us know in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more outrageous videos. See you again soon. Bye.